By the end of my speech, my audience will believe that masks do play an important role in reducing COVID transmission and why it's important to enforce masks. Who would have thought that a year ago that a face mask would be an essential part of your wardrobe? A year ago, we were at a shortage of masks. Now you can pick them up almost anywhere and have a variety of styles and colors to choose from. It's important to be wearing masks since it's scientifically proven to reduce the transmission of COVID-19. Due to a slow decline of cases and an increase in vaccination efforts, many believe that it's okay to ditch the mask and no longer enforce mask wearing. Now you might be thinking, why does this affect you? Well, by wearing your mask, you reduce your chance of getting COVID by 79% according to researchers at UT Austin. Without the strict enforcement of masks, people will not be inclined to follow CDC guidelines, which will reverse all the progress we've made this past year. Think about all the freedoms we are starting to gain back, taken away because we cannot control the spread of the virus. As an engineering student with a passion for science, I often find myself researching different science topics and trying to keep myself updated on the advancements in science. Since the beginning of the pandemic, I have kept up to date with the advances of COVID-19 through the CDC, WHO, and other research facilities. I use trusted science-based resources to make sure my information is scientifically correct. I spent many hours looking into COVID transmission and how we can reduce it and how masks play a big role in reducing it. Because the connection of wearing a mask and how it significantly lowers COVID transmission, by taking away mask mandates increases the exposure to COVID-19, which would cause an increase in cases, which can become a widespread problem for us wanting to return to normal. Since this problem is so widespread and preventable, I propose that we enforce wearing our face masks as well as make sure we hold our government officials accountable for enforcing mask wearing. Let's begin by looking at how our state is enforcing mask mandates. On March 10th, Governor Abbott ended a statewide mask mandate, highlighting the disregard of science and government officials in regards to COVID. Greg Abbott released his order of opening businesses at 100% and doing away with the requirement of wearing a mask in public. Patrick Sedette from the Texas Tribune highlighted how Abbott was repealing most of the earlier executive orders. Abbott also stated that during the address that people and business do not need the state telling them how to operate any longer. This highlights the governor's disregard for COVID and prefers to focus on if a governor is telling what a citizen can and cannot do. 3 of Governor Abbott's 4 corona medical advisors say they were not consulted before lifting the mask mandate. Sean McKinley reports. McKinley also has a master's degree and is a COVID-19 reporting fellow. This shows that the governor's decision does not reflect that of following medical professionals' advice. Following the lift of the mask mandate and vaccination, Senator Ted Cruz disclosed that he would not be wearing a mask on the Senate floor. During an interview with CNN's Ted Barrett, Cruz discussed how he's not wearing a mask, going to wear a mask since he's been vaccinated, others in the Senate have been vaccinated. Contrary to what Cruz said, there are also many in the Capitol that have not been vaccinated. Cruz also disclosed that since the CDC released guidelines saying small groups of vaccinated people can gather without masks, he felt that it was okay to go to court as such. Many have shown both support and disapproval for his thinking. As you can see, we need to hold our governor responsible for upholding mask mandates. Now, what does wearing a mask actually do? We are at risk of the consequences of the problem because if there is a decrease in mask wearing, we can see an increase in COVID cases, which will put a strain on our health system and we can go through another lockdown. Dr. Lisa Maragaskis, MD, is an expert in infection prevention from Hopkins University. Maragaskis highlights that wearing a mask helps contain respiratory droplets that can transmit SARS-CoV-2 and prevent the transmission from an asymptomatic person to another. Maragaskis' statement on wearing masks shows how something so simple can not only reduce transmission but also potentially save somebody's life. Michael Roberts, MD, is currently East Alabama's Health Chief of Staff. He wrote that by wearing your face mask and by another individual wearing mask, you dramatically decrease our risk of transmission of the virus that causes COVID-19. His statement backs up Dr. Maragaskis' statement on how masks help contain respiratory droplets. At this point, it should be very clear that wearing masks is important to controlling the spread of the virus, and the little government enforcement of masks is a serious problem for all of us. So now I want to tell you about the solution to this problem. The solution I propose is to continue wearing our mask and hold family and friends accountable for wearing their masks, as well as enforce government support on masks. It has been proven that wearing masks is 79% effective, so it's important that everybody wears masks. By not wearing your mask, you not only put your loved ones at risk, but also everyone else. Jeremy Howard writes, COVID-19 moves like a silent assassin with unwitting accomplices. Maybe you'll be one of them. This highlights that you may not know that you're carrying COVID, but you can potentially expose and even kill someone through your asymptomatic transmission. Howard said something as simple as wearing a mask and maintaining 6 feet social distance can prevent transmission. Evidence of Jose Humphrey's Department of Clinical Research at St. John's Antigua writes in his paper, the importance of wearing face masks curtailing the COVID-19 pandemic, why it's important to wear masks. He discussed when a face mask is worn, you can prevent those droplets from coming into contact with one's face or mouth before dropping to the ground. This is important to remember since the easiest way COVID-19 is transmitted is through respiratory droplets. By wearing face masks, we greatly reduce the chances of getting COVID. In conclusion, there are currently no state mask mandates, and it is important for us to continue wearing masks because it will help us win the fight against the coronavirus. It's important to wear masks so we can stop losing lives to COVID-19 and prevent another lockdown. To reduce the transmission rate of COVID-19, we need to ensure that everyone continues to wear their face masks and make sure that our friends and families do so as well. I know that we are all tired, but by wearing your mask, not only are you helping stopping the spread of COVID, but you're doing a simple act of kindness. If wearing your mask can prevent the death of a loved one of a complete stranger or prevent the suffering of someone, why wouldn't you? It costs you nothing to wear a mask. If you want to continue to help control the virus and be able to continue making progress to go back to normal, we must continue to wear our mask. We all need to hold each other accountable and make sure that we don't not only keep wearing our masks, but make sure that our friends and families do so as well. You need to call your local government to show support for COVID guidelines and mask mandates and help incite change. Thank you.